Hello everyone. So today we will be studying the biological classifications. So when we talk about biological classifications, we basically it was given as two kingdom classification by Linnaeus. So Linnaeus gave a two kingdom classification. So he said plant is one kingdom and animalia is one kingdom. But what happens? This system did not distinguish between the eukaryotes and prokaryotes or unicellular, multicellular. So, all those things. So, later on, we had three kingdom classification, then four kingdom classification, and then we have the five kingdom classification. Okay, so five kingdom classification goes like this. We have kingdom Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae and animalia. So these are the different classifications which are there. So Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae and animalia. Okay, so the characteristics we differentiate them based on cell type, cell wall, nuclear membrane, body organization and mode of nutrition. So this five kingdom classification was given by R.H. Whittaker. So this was given by R.H. Whittaker. And later on we have six kingdom as well, when there is an inclusion of vibroids or viruses which are like pseudo livings. Okay, so like virus. Okay, so we have got vibroids also in the sixth classification that we have. But basically when we talk about five kingdom classification, it is Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae and animalia. So now if we talk about the cell type, so basically when we talk, then based on the cells, they can be of two types. One is prokaryotes and one is eukaryotes. So only this Monera is an prokaryote. The rest is eukaryote. Now when I say about the distinct features between prokaryote and eukaryote, cell wall is non-cellulosic. It is there in prokaryotes like bacteria. They do have a cell wall, whereas the nuclear membrane is absent. And the body organization, it is cellular, and the mode of nutrition is autotrophic, be it chemosynthetic or photosynthetic, and it may be heterotrophic if it is saprophytic or parasitic. So basically when I talk about Monera, I will be comparing it with bacterial category. So that is what it is. Then we have Protista. Protista, again, if we go ahead, you will find that in all this other, we have a nuclear membrane. Okay, now Protista are single-celled organisms. Eukaryotes that we have, they are cellular. Okay, and they are autotrophic as well as heterotrophic. Next, fungi. So we have here chitin is present. They have nuclear membrane and they start becoming multicellular with loose tissue. They are basically heterotrophic. They are either saprophytic or parasitic in nature. Then we have plantae. So plantae, they have cellulose which is present. They obviously have a nuclear membrane and it is tissue or organ that is there, and they are autotrophic, whereas and obviously plantae we have some heterotrophic as well. So animalia, we have eukaryotes. They are cell wall is absent, but they have a nuclear membrane. They have the formation of tissue, organ and organ system. And basically animalia, they are heterotrophic, which are holozoic, saprophytic, etc. Okay, so we will be going across and looking at different kingdoms separately. Okay, so when we come to one by one to each and every kingdom, first coming to kingdom Monera. So kingdom Monera is what? Kingdom Monera, we have it as, so here they are the most abundant microorganisms, bacteria that occur. Okay, almost every. So that is there everywhere. So hundreds of bacteria are present even in the soil or in the air or wherever you see. So bacteria basically they vary in the shapes. They vary in the shapes, like the spherical ones are known as cocci. So here you will have bacteria in spherical shape, so they are cocci. Then we have rod shaped bacteria. So rod shaped bacteria, they are known as bacillus. We have comma shaped bacteria, which are vibroids, or which are vibrio. And then we have spiral shaped bacteria, which is spirulina. So they are spiral shaped. Okay, so this is spirulina. So there are numerous forms of bacteria which are there, and they are classified based on the shape. Okay, next, though the bacterial structure is very simple, they are complex in behavior. So compared to other organisms, bacteria as a group, they show the most extensive metabolic diversity. So they are very, very diverse. They can synthesize their own food. They may be photosynthetic or autotrophic. They may be chemosynthetic autotrophic. Again, these bacteria, they might depend on others for food, like they are heterotrophs. So you understand they are having a diverse nature. Next, we have archaebacteria. What is archaebacteria? So archaebacteria, these bacteria are special since they live in some of the most harsh habitats, like in the salt. High salt condition, they are halophiles. In hot springs, they are thermoacidophiles, and in marshy areas, they are methanogens. So that is how they are classified. Now archaebacteria, they differ from other bacteria because they have a different cell wall structure, and these features will help them to to cope up with the extreme conditions which are there. Methanogens, they are present in the gut of several ruminants animals such as cows, buffaloes, and they are responsible for the production of methane from the dung of the animals. So that is the use of methanogens. Next, we have eubacteria. So eubacteria, if we talk about, they are basically the true bacteria, we can say. They are the true bacteria, and they are characterized by the presence of rigid cell wall, and if motile, they have a flagellum. Okay, there are cyanobacteria. So cyanobacteria are blue-green algae, okay, which are referred as blue-green algae. They have chlorophyll A, similar to green plants, and are photosynthetic. They photosynthesize. And these cyanobacteria, they are usually unicellular. They stay in the form of colony, so colonial, or they have filament, that is filamentous. They may stay in fresh water or even in marine water, okay, or in the terrestrial algae. So the colonies are generally surrounded by gelatinous sheath, and they often form blossom in they often form blooms in polluted water bodies. And some of the specialized cells there are heterocysts, example nostoc, anebina, and then we have chemosynthetic autotrophs also. We talked about photosynthesis autotrophs, and now we have chemosynthetic autotrophs. And herein what they will do, they will convert or they will oxidize inorganic substances like nitrites, nitrates, ammonia, and all those things, and thus there will be ATP production for the energy. Now they play a great role in recycling the nutrients, like in nitrogen cycle or phosphorus cycle. So they play a huge role. Next, we have heterotrophic bacteria. We have already discussed photosynthetic autotrophs, chemosynthetic autotrophs, and now we are discussing the heterotrophic bacteria. So heterotrophic bacteria are what? So they are, majority of them are decomposers, like those which will help in making curd from milk, or production of antibiotics. So these kinds of heterotrophic bacteria, they are of very good use to us for various diseases we have. So cholera, typhoid, tetanus, all these things, all the known diseases, they are also caused by different kinds of bacteria. So bacteria, it is harmful, however it can be useful as well. As I said to you, formation of curd from the milk, or for production of antibiotics, all this depends on bacteria. The mycoplasma are organisms that completely lack cell wall, and they are smallest living cells known and can survive without oxygen. So many mycoplasma are pathogenic in animals and plants. So that is what we talked about Monera. And next, coming to kingdom Protista. So in kingdom Protista, what is there? As I told you, Protista, so they are eukaryotes, they are single-celled eukaryotes. So, the boundaries of the kingdom are not well defined, though they are just eukaryotes. They are again single-celled. So, here we have different types of Protista. We have chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoa, which comes under Protista. Now, the members of Protista, they are aquatic. So this kingdom, it forms a link between the plants and animals and fungi. Okay, so being eukaryotes, the Protistan cell body contains well-defined nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. Okay, and some have flagella and cilia as well. So protists, they will reproduce asexually and sexually by a process involving cell fusion and zygote formation. Now, as I said you, there are different kinds of Protista which are there. So first, coming into chrysophytes. So chrysophytes are desmids, or they are golden algae or diatoms which are there. So they are usually found in marine environment. They are microscopic and float passively in water currents like planktons, and most of them are photosynthetic. The diatoms, in diatoms what happens, the cell walls, they form two thin overlapping shells. So they fit in just like a soap box. Okay, and here, here these diatoms, they have left behind a lot amount of cell wall deposits, and that is why they are known as diatomaceous earth. And because being gritty, this soil is used for polishing, filtering of oils and syrups and all those things. And diatoms, they are chief producers in oceans. Next, coming to dinoflagellates. Okay, so if we come to dinoflagellates, as the name suggests, it has got flagella. Okay, so they are also marine, they are photosynthetic. They appear yellow, green, brown, blue, red, depending on the kind of pigment they have. Okay, and most of them has got two flagella. So one is longitudinal and other is transverse. So they have got two flagella, one is longitudinal and one is transverse. And very often the red dinoflagellates, which is Goniolax, they undergo rapid multiplication that they make the sea appear red, which is known as red tides. One of the very important question. Okay, red tides. So why is it happening? Because of the rapid multiplication of red dinoflagellate, which is Goniolax. Okay. Next we have euglenoids. Euglenoids again have got flagella. But here, as we have, in dinoflagellates, we saw that there are two flagella. One is lateral and one is longitudinal and one is transversal. But here in euglenoids, you will have two flagella. One is short and other is long. Okay, so here also we have a rich layer of protein which is known as pellicle, which makes their body very flexible. And and so they are basically heterotrophic, though they are photosynthetic in the presence of light. They are also behave like heterotroph by predating on other smaller organisms. And interestingly, what happens is the pigment of euglenoids, they are identical to those in the higher plants. Next, we have slime molds. As the name suggests, they are very slimy. In nature, slime molds, they are saprophytic protists, and the body, they move along the decaying twigs and leaves engulfing organic material. So under suitable condition, they will form an aggregate, and that is known as plasmodium, which grows and it can spread several feet. That slimy matter which can spread several feet. Now during unfavorable condition, what happens? This plasmodium will differentiate. They will form fruiting bodies bearing spores at the tips, and these spores possess true walls, and they are extremely resistant and survive many years even under adverse conditions. So that is how the slimes are. Okay, slime molds. Next we have protozoa. So if we talk about protozoa, one thing which enters our mind any point of time is the amoeboid dysentery or malaria, which is caused by Plasmodium vivax, the protozoa. So that is how it is. So protozoa, all the protozoans, they are heterotrophic in nature because they are parasitic. Basically, if I say most of them are parasitic, even those which I named out. So amoeboid protozoan, so they live in fresh water, seawater and moist soil. They will move and capture their prey by putting out pseudopodia as an amoeba, and marine forms have silica shells on their surface. Some of them, such as Antimaba, are parasites. Antimaba, so that is a parasite which is causing amoeboid dysentery. Then we have flagellated protozoa. These are protozoa which has flagella. They are free living, and their parasitic forms can cause diseases like sleeping sickness. Like the example is trypanosoma. Okay, so that is the example, trypanosoma. Next we have ciliated protozoa. So ciliated, so cilia is the small hairy like appearance which is there. So they are again aquatic in nature. They have some small cilia, and they have a cavity which is there. Okay, like in paramecium if you see. So they have a cavity which is there that opens to the outside of the cell surface, and the coordinated movement of rows of cilia cause water laden with food to be stirred into the gullet. Okay, then we have sporozoans. So this includes diverse organisms that have an infectious spore-like stage in their life cycle. That is why the name is sporozoans. And the most notorious is Plasmodium, the malaria causing one, and which causes malaria, a disease which has triggered the effect on human population. Next, we will be going ahead with fungi. So this is, there are different types of fungus which are available to us. So the fungus are basically, when we talk about fungus, they are the unique kingdom. Okay, they are very, very unique, and they have got great diversity of morphology and habitat. So fungus, you would have seen molds on the bread or some rotten fruits and all those. So these are fungus. They will appear as white spots that are seen under mustard leaves. That is parasitic fungus. So there is many ways that fungus is developed, and and yes, so even usually we prefer to put it inside the refrigerators so that we can avoid the spoilage of food from being affected by bacterial or fungal infections. So that is there. And basically when I talk about fungus, they are usually saprophytic in nature or they are parasitic in nature. They also live as symbionts, as in lichens we have, and with the roots of higher plants which has mycorrhiza. So that is how the fungus all stays. So their reproduction is basically in the form of vegetative reproduction, fragmentation, fission, budding and all those. And we can have asexual reproduction by spore formation as in conidia or sporangiospores, zoospores, all those oospores. And okay, and there is a sexual reproduction also that happens, which takes place in 3 steps. First is plasmogamy, then is karyogamy, then meiosis. Plasmogamy is nothing but the division of protoplasm that is taking place. And when I talk about division of the fusion of nucleus that is taking place, fusion of protoplasm is plasmogamy, fusion of nuclei is karyogamy, and then meiosis, which is happening in zygote resulting in haploid spores. Okay. Now when a fungus reproduces sexually, what happens is 2 haploid hyphae which is there, which are compatible of mating types, they come together and fuse. And now what happens, in some fungi the fusion of 2 haploid immediately results in a diploid cell. And in some cases like Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes, what happened is an intervening dikaryotic stage is there, that is 2 nuclei per cell. So that is a dikaryotic stage happens, and this stage is known as dikaryon, and the phase is called as dikaryophase of fungus. And later this parent and nuclei, they will fuse and these cells become diploid. The fungi forms fruiting bodies in which reduction division occurs, leading to formation of haploid spores. Next we have, so different categories that we have under fungi, they are Phycomycetes. So what is Phycomycetes? So members of Phycomycetes, they are found in the aquatic habitat and on decaying wood in moist, damp places. And the mycelium that is here is aseptate and coinocytic. Now asexual reproduction which is taking place here by zoospores or by alpenospores, which is non-motile. Now these spores are endogenously produced in sporangium. A zoospore is formed by fusion of 2 gametes, and these gametes are similar in morphology, so that is known as isogamous. Or if it is dissimilar, then it is known as anisogamous. So isogamous if they look similar, and if their size is dissimilar, then it is anisogamous. Oogamous is if we have a motile male and non-motile female. Okay, then some common examples are mucor, rhizopus and all those. Next we have Ascomycetes. Ascomycetes, they are known as sac fungi. Ascomycetes, they are mostly multicellular. Example is Penicillium. They are saprophytic, decomposer, parasitic or coprophilous. Okay, that is growing on dung. So mycelium is branched and septate. The asexual spores are conidia here, which are produced exogenously on the special mycelium called conidiophores. Now conidia on germination will produce mycelium. Now sexual spores are called ascospores. which are produced endogenously in sac-like asci. Now these ascis, they will be arranged in different types of fruiting bodies called ascocarps. Some examples are Aspergillus, Claviceps, Neurospora. The Neurospora, it's like extensively a biochemical and genetic work. We use that. Okay. Then we have Basidiomycetes. Basidiomycetes are basically mushrooms, bracket fungi, or puffballs. So they grow in soils, logs, tree stumps, and all those. So they are parasitic. Example, rust and smuts. So the mycelium here is septate, and asexual spores are generally not found, but vegetative reproduction by fragmentation is very common. Sex organs are usually absent here, but plasmogamy is brought about by fusion of two vegetative or somatic cells of different strains and genotype. Okay, here the resultant and meiosis that is taking place, that karyogamy and meiosis that will take place in basidium, producing 4 basidiospores, and these basidiospores, they are exogenously produced on basidium. So the basidia are arranged in fruiting bodies called basidiospores. Some common members are agaricus, which is mushroom, Astilago, which is smut, and Puccinia, which is rust fungus. Next we have Deuteromycetes. So Deuteromycetes, so they are imperfect fungi. They because the asexual or vegetative phase of this fungi are not known. Okay, so when sexual forms of these fungi were discovered, they were moved into the classes which they rightly belong to. Now it is also possible that asexual and vegetative stage have been given one name and placed under Deuteromycetes, and sexual stage another and placed under another class. So that might happen. Later, when the linkages were established, fungi were correctly identified and moved out of Deuteromycetes, and once perfect sexual stage of members of Deuteromycetes were discovered, they were often moved to Ascomycetes or Basidiomycetes. The Deuteromycetes, they reproduce only by asexual spores known as conidia. The mycelium is septate and branched, and some members of saprophytes or parasites, which while a large number of them are decomposers. Okay. Next, coming to kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Plantae, when I talk about kingdom Plantae, so they have got chlorophyll. They may be insectivorous, that is, they are usually autotrophic, but as I said you, few can be heterotrophic as well, like insectivorous plants or parasitic plants. Like Cuscuta is one of the parasitic plant. Venus flytrap, it's an insectivorous plant. So that is there. And plant cells have eukaryotic structure, which is prominent chloroplast and cell wall, mainly made up of cellulose. If I talk about life cycle of plants, they have two distinct phases. One is diploid sporophytic phase and one is haploid gametophytic phase. Okay, so that is alternate with each other. Now the length of the haploid and diploid phase, whether these phases are free living or dependent on others. So all these things we will be coming to. It's it will be different from plant to plant, and this phenomena is known as alterations of generations. So there are various alterations. In the further on, when we come to kingdom Plantae, we will be discussing about this alteration of generation in a in a descriptive manner. Next we have kingdom Animalia. So kingdom Animalia, they do lack cell wall. So they are again multicellular, and they directly or indirectly depend on plants for food. So here what is happening, they digest their food in an internal cavity and store food reserves as glycogen or fat. The mode of nutrition here is basically holozoic, by ingestion of food at one time. There are various shapes and size. As they grow, it will change its pattern and all those, and higher forms show elaborate sensory and neuromotor mechanism. So there is sexual reproduction is by copulation of male and female, followed by embryological development. Next, I was talking about, we have a sixth category or sixth kingdom, which is virus, viroids, prions and lichens. So now if I talk about the viruses, so five kingdom classification was already given by Whittaker, and there was no mention of these viruses. Okay, so viruses did not have a place in the classification because they are not true living. So they are pseudo living. They always form a crystalline. They can form a crystalline structure, as they are not cell. They are not cell structures. They have got a protein covering which can help them to be in the crystalline structure, and only when they infect a cell will they start multiplying or replicating. So the name virus, that means venom or poisonous fluid, was given by Dmitry Ivanovsky, in 1892, and recognized that certain microbes as casual organisms of mosaic disease of tobacco. So later on it was seen by M.W. Bejernik that he demonstrated that the extract of these infected plants of tobacco could cause infection in healthy plants as well. So, he called this fluid as contagium vivum fluidum, which is infection living fluid. Later on, Stanley showed that viruses could be crystalline, and crystal consist of largely the proteins. So that was coming up, and they have a genetic material. They could be either RNA or DNA. So no virus can contain both RNA and DNA. So a virus is a nucleoprotein and genetic material is infectious. If in general the virus that infects the plants have single stranded RNA, and virus that infects the animals have either single or double stranded RNA or double stranded DNA. So now these viruses, if you see, they have a protein coat which is known as capsid. And they have small subunits known as capsomers, which protect the nucleic acid, that is DNA or RNA. And these viruses, they can cause disease like mumps, etc. So herein we have vibroids. In 1971, Theodiner, he discovered the new infectious agent that was smaller than virus and caused potato spindle tuber disease. It was found to be free RNA, and it lacked the protein coat that is found in virus. So hence he called it viroid. So the RNA of viroid was of low molecular weight. Then there was prions. So prions are what? In modern medicine, certain infectious neurology diseases were found to be transmitted by agents consisting of abnormally folded proteins. The agents were similar in size to virus. Now these agents were called prions. So the most notable disease which is caused by prion is bovine spongiform encephalopathy. So BSE. So commonly called as mad cow disease in cattle. Then we have lichens. Lichens, where we have symbiotic relationship between algae and fungi. And here the algae competent in phycobiont, and fungal is mycobiont, which is autotrophic and heterotrophic. respectively. So phycobiont is, it's autotrophic, and mycobiont is heterotrophic. So algae will prepare the food for the fungi, and fungi will provide shelter and absorb minerals from the water for its partner. So that is how they live. Okay, so that's it about the biological classification and the five kingdom classification. Thank you.